After that period, I started seeing in my meditations the crystal skull. I already recognized his consciousness, and in that way I received already a lot of messages from him, a lot of information. After that, I started seeing him in my garden, in the house where I lived. There is a sacred place, I call it an interdimensional vortex. It's a very strong spiral energy where all the dimensions are connected together. I could see him there standing, and I even asked my husband at the time, can you see anything over there? Because I was a little bit doubting it could be my own imagination or my own wish or wanting. And he said, oh, yeah, I see a crystal skull. So in that vortex he was really solid in one way. So I tried to pick him up, and I felt that when I was in that vortex with those dimensions, that I could really feel the weight in my hand and that I really had him. But when I stepped out, he was gone. He was just disappeared. So I think, well, that doesn't work, so I need to do something else. I started asking this skull, I didn't know his name of course at that time, what do I have to do to get you here? And he said, you just need to take logical steps, because the energetic thing is already done, that's already completed. Now you need to do just normal 3D things to get me home. I called a friend of mine who has a crystal shop, and where I bought very nice and beautiful crystals. And I asked him if he ever had seen a crystal skull. And he said no, and I don't want anything to do with that. So I said, well, okay, it's not a big deal. I just wanted to know something about it. And we just started to talk about normal things. I just let it rest, because I knew I don't want to go to anybody else, because I knew that he had good quality, but he, on some reason, he didn't want anything to do with it. But after a month or two, he called me up, and he was in Brazil, and he said, I've got 3 crystal skulls and you can just pick one. I said, well, that's not how it works. I would want to have a picture of it, because I just want a picture. I could not say to him that I wanted to tune into the energy, but I just said I want a picture before. He was a bit agitated about that. He said, well, I did my best and I didn't want it, and now I've got 3 and now you don't want it, just say what you want. I said, I cannot decide, because I didn't feel any energy, but of course that was my last test, if I just could, if I just wanted one and take one out of ego, because me thinking I just need a crystal skull, so I take the first one that I can get. Or if I could just let it for what it was. So I decided no, because it didn't feel right, it didn't feel anything. So that was it. I just left it, like all the other times that I just left it. But a few weeks later, I had a dream about Scully. That was the crystal skull of my friend that stayed that weekend with me. And he came to me and said, it's okay. That morning, was Sunday morning, Vicky called, that is the keeper of that crystal skull, and she lives in Australia, and she said, I just was thinking about you, I just wanted to call you. So that was 2 times that they connected with me. A day later I got a telephone call from that man again, and he said, I really don't know how to say it, but my partner is still in Brazil and he's got a crystal skull. And my heart just went to the phone, and I said, it's okay, let him come. I didn't ask anything. I didn't know how big he was. I didn't know how expensive he was. I just said, bring him over. So I just knew this is the one. So I just decided at that moment that I would buy it. It took a little while before the skull came in Holland, and after 6 weeks I called him and I said, well, is the skull already here? And that man said, I don't know how to tell you, but I've lost him and I was afraid to call you. I said, you've lost him? He said, yeah, there were 3 containers being shipped from Brazil to Holland, and 2 containers, they arrived in Holland, but the 3rd one, where the skull was in, just was lost somewhere. And I said, well, yeah, what can we do? He said, yeah, actually we cannot do anything. So after the telephone call, I just went into a meditation, and I heard the skull laughing, and he said, oh, it's not a problem, not a big deal, I'm just working here, and when I'm finished I come home. A few weeks later I got the call that he arrived in Holland and that I could pick him up. Afterwards, when I got him and I started working with him, I knew that he has the option to make himself invisible. What he did on that, he was just lost on a airport somewhere in America. He stayed there for a few weeks just while they had shipped it off and had to put it in another plane. They just couldn't find it anymore because he made the whole container invisible. On a daily basis, people have been walking there for weeks past that container without seeing it, and all of a sudden they saw it back again. So that was a real funny experience. When I got to that man to pick up the crystal skull, it was the first time that I saw him. I already saw him in my meditation, and of course he to me was very beautiful and light and clear. But when I really saw him physical, I was overwhelmed by the beauty and that he really was the way he is. So I was thinking, oh my God, can I work with this? It's so beautiful. So this was felt very special to me. And then I heard the story about how that man found this crystal skull, and that's what I'm now going to tell you.